All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about Gervonta Davis, Devin Haney, and the WBA championship at 135 pounds. You now have a lot of people out there flat out telling stories on Gervonta Davis, calling him an email champion because now he is the only WBA world champion at that weight class, claiming as if that is the same thing that transpired with Devin Haney, who at one point in time was called the WBC email champion. We're going to straighten the record up here and do a little bit of a lesson on how boxing belts work, because it seems as if the media is phrasing it in the right way, but not being clear enough that people actually understand what took place, because there is no way, shape, form, or fashion that Gervonta Davis is an email champion. He was also not elevated at all by the WBA. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 135-pound division, where it just seems like it never stops with the fake information coming out around fighters that certain people do not like very much or want to make look bad. And in this particular instance, it is Gervonta Davis who has things being put out on him on Twitter and Instagram and on YouTube that are just 100% incorrect. And a basic understanding of how the sport of boxing works would let people know what the deal is. However, it doesn't, I guess that doesn't go around too much these days. So here's the thing. You have people out on Twitter, you have people on YouTube doing videos talking about how Gervonta Davis was elevated to the WBC World Championship. Elevated to the WBA World Championship. And that took place after Devin Haney dropped his title. So therefore, that means that Gervonta Davis is an email champion. This is patently stupid. Now, before I get into the details of it, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you're a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you so much for your continued support. But let's get to this, okay? So Devin Haney moves up to 135, from 135 to 140, and he vacates all of the belts that he had at the time, which was the WBO World Championship, the IBF World Championship, and the WBA Super World Championship. And he had another one, but he had vacated that before, which is the WBC World Championship. So articles come out and say that Gervonta Davis was, the WBA confirmed that Gervonta Davis was the only WBA champion. Then in this absolutely ridiculous and bad journalism put out by Michael Benson and several other people, they said that confirms that he is no longer the regular champion, because there was a regular champion and then there was a super champion. That was irresponsible and very poorly written, and is one of the reasons why there's so much confusion going on in the sport of boxing when you get absolutely positively half behind journalism, because that's not the case. Let me explain something to you guys, and please listen carefully. There are only 2 world championships that the WBA holds. 2. One is called the WBA Super World Championship. Super World Championship. WBA Super World Championship. Then they have a second one called the WBA World Championship. Those are the 2. Devin Haney held the WBA Super World Championship, and Gervonta Davis held the WBA World Championship. Got it? 2 belts. Nowhere in there do you hear the word regular, because there is no such thing. There is no name for any belt called the WBA regular belt. If you go to the WBA website If you go to the WBA, you go to BoxRec. If you go to any video where you watch, they talk about the championships that these people hold and they make an official announcement, you will never hear the phrase the WBA regular championship. Because it's no such thing. It's the WBA World Championship. And that, my friends, is the traditional belt that has been around since the early 1960s, specifically as we apply it to the lightweight division. Did you know that in order to become a WBA champion, that Vasily Lomachenko beat Jorge Linares, who was the WBA champion before him? If you go to BoxRec, you will see what on his record, Jorge Linares' record, what belt he held. He held the WBA World Championship. He did not hold what Vasily Lomachenko was given, which is the WBA Super World Championship. Nobody had held that designation, the WBA Super Championship, before Vasily Lomachenko, who I do believe got it in 2018. Nobody had held that belt since 2010 with Juan Manuel Marquez. Everybody between the years of 2010 and 2018 held the same belt that Gervonta Davis had. It was when Bob Arum wanted that special designation for Vasily Lomachenko to allow him to fight for Undisputed that they brought that back. If you look at that particular belt, you will see that there are gaps in almost every weight class where that belt is not around. I think the only one where it's been around consistently since the time it was established is the heavyweight division after Vasily Lomachenko, after that Vladimir Klitschko had, after Lennox Lewis suggested it but retired. So let's be very, very clear. Gervonta Davis was not elevated. He was not an email champion because Gervonta Davis has held the belt that he holds right now ever since he won it back in 2020 when he fought 2019 when he fought Yuriorkis Gamboa for that belt. That is the same belt that he has now, and he has not been elevated to anything. He has the same belt that he has. The same situation applied with the WBC. When Vasily Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez and George Kambosos were all the WBC franchise champion. But when the WBC franchise champion fought the WBC world champion, Devin Haney, and the WBC world champion won, the WBC world champion did not take that designation, so the WBC world champion became the only champion. And that is what the WBA let everybody know, that Gervonta Davis is the only champion. He is not the WBA super champion, and he was never the WBA regular champion because there's no such thing as the WBA regular championship. And there's this colloquial phrases being used by journalists that are inappropriate. Because just because you put them in single quotations doesn't mean that people will understand that you're not referring to that as an actual title. The media was just trying to find a simple way to refer to the two belts. Well, you have the super belt, you got the regular belt. But it's not, if you want to be accurate, you have the super belt and then you have the traditional belt, because that's what it is. And it is the world championship because you have to fight the mandatory. And the funny thing is that the media and the people that are saying this understood this for the WBC and the franchise belt, but they have a hard time processing it from the WBA super championship and the WBA world championship, because a lot of these people don't actually take time to read the words that are on the paper in front of them. It's the WBA world championship. It's not the WBA regular championship. There's no such thing as that. But anyway, just wanted to clarify that. Gervonta Davis was not emailed a championship. He was not. He has that championship and he's defended it. Let me see how many times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. He's already defended that belt 5 times. How can you be elevated to a belt that you've already defended 5 times? You can't. And his title has not changed anywhere because he said, I don't want the super designation. And not wanting the super designation means that he doesn't want to get out of fighting mandatories, which, by the way, is something that people celebrated Devin Haney for. But you call Gervonta Davis a email champion for doing the same thing in the same weight class. The hypocrisy and the ignorance it's mind-boggling sometimes. Anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.